I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels, and this thing's not spinning very well. Might need some WD-40 on this. It's made of plastic. This thing's been falling apart for a long time now. Might be time to replace it, although I won't be able to spin it when I do it. So, anyways, this is the Monday Night Raw review for November 27th, 2017, and what a show it was. Overall, honestly, I thought today was a good show. Nothing overly, super special happened. We continued and progressed a lot of different storylines. We had a few announcements happen, although I will say that there may be some new stuff going on with Matt Hardy, and we'll talk about that as we like to do it in order so I don't talk about things too many times, because I go on rants and tangents a lot. But anyways, we started things off with a video package of Kane, and he was talking about Braun Strowman, how he decimated him, yada yada. Then we had Roman Reigns come out, the new Intercontinental Champion. Light, you deserve it chance from the crowd. He thanked the crowd for that and said, it was well deserved, yada yada. Thank you for that. Then he says the Miz will be gone for a while, which the real reason is he's shooting a new Marine movie, which is why he's actually gone. And he basically just says, if anybody wants a shot at this championship, come out and take it. Almost like the U.S. Title Open Challenge that Cena used to throw. Granted, he didn't actually do an open challenge, but he basically did. He just said, anyone wants a shot, come and get it. Miz Music's hits. People are expecting the Miz, but it's not the Miz. It's actually Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. They talk about the Miz being gone, and in their place will be Elias Sampson. So Elias takes over the Miz's role. He's now in charge of the Miztourage, which is cool. I like it. I like the pairing with Elias and the Miztourage. He's playing guitar, and he walks out there, and he says that he will become the next Intercontinental Champion. He wants to shot the championship. Of course, Roman accepts. Rollins comes out after all this is over, but no burn it down to his music. So I don't know if that was a botch, if they clicked the wrong sound, the wrong entrance music, or what. Or is Vince already tired of it? Because apparently, and these are from Seth's own, his own words, was that the reason why the burn it down thing even started was that Vince didn't like the little quiet spot in his music after the intro of it, and then just kind of pauses, and then it goes on to the song, the dud after, So they added the burn it down thing. There's an interview somewhere online that you can find where Rollins talks about it. So is Vince already tired of that? I don't know. They mentioned that Sheamus was in Ireland and Dean was on his honeymoon. So they weren't there tonight. So this was a Seth Rollins versus Cesaro match. And this was a great match, man. This was a very good Monday Night Raw match. Maybe not if this was on a pay-per-view, maybe maybe if the story was actually more to this feud, maybe it would be an exciting match. But the match itself was pretty good for a Raw match. And one thing I thought was weird is Cesaro comes out to the entire bar entrance, not just his own theme song. He plays the opening of his theme song, then the lights go out, and it does the Sheamus intro. He still did that by himself. I thought that was a little odd. But the match ended with Cesaro going for a springboard uppercut, and he lands right into a super kick by Seth Rollins, which is quite impressive. Seth grabs him, hits him with the Kingslayer knee for the 1-2-3. One thing I don't like about Seth Rollins' offense is I don't really like the Kingslayer knee. It doesn't it's not very effective. It looks kind of weak, especially when you compare it to someone who also does the move, Kenny Omega, where it looks pretty hard hitting. But still, it was a good match nonetheless. One thing that was weird though was the replay camera. If you go back and watch it, there was a weird cut. So they show Cesaro going into the super kick, right? And in the match, it literally happened just they hit the super kick, sets up for the knee, hits the knee, 1-2-3. That's it. So the replay camera shows the super kick and it shows Seth grabbing for the Kingslayer. It cuts out, the camera cuts away as if it's playing another clip, and then it plays right where it left off. It was very strange. Obviously a mess up from the camera crew, which happens. Everyone makes mistakes. But he ends up in the knee. But I caught on to it. I was like, that was a little strange. Seth cut a promo. Charlie asked him, is the Shield going to break up? And he said, now that he's the Intercontinental Champion, you guys can go your separate ways. And he said, nah, man, we're going to stick together. Him being the Intercontinental Champion just kind of fuels our fire even more. we're going to go on and win the tag team championships. In fact, next week Dean will be back. Sheamus will be back. So why don't we invoke a rematch clause next week? Obviously, with the Royal Rumble not being for 2 months, Raw's not going to have a pay-per-view for almost 2 full months. So now at this point, they're kind of just, I don't want to say it's filler, but it kind of is. They're kind of just trying to, I guess, not really buy time's not even the right word either. They're just trying to fill things that's filler. I guess this is the best way to explain it. They're trying to put in some filler in between the from now to the Royal Rumble, because the next pay-per-view is not till Clash of Champions, which is SmackDown, and that's next month, and then the Royal Rumble's in January, followed by the Elimination Chamber of Raw. So we don't get another Raw exclusive pay-per-view for 3 months, which is kind of crazy, because for a while it was almost like we had a pay-per-view every 2 weeks, and it's nice to have that break. Like I mentioned before, like the last time, I think it may even the Survivor Series, it was the pay-per-view before Survivor Series, it was a whole month before that pay-per-view, and I was actually kind of missing watching a pay-per-view. There'd be a Sunday, and I'm like, man, there's not a pay-per-view on tonight. I kind of wish there was. So that's a good thing, because every 2 weeks is just too much, it feels like. But then when you do that, and then you extend it to like the next, it's a whole nother month before pay-per-view, you kind of miss it a little bit. At least for me, anyways. So that's kind of exciting. So they are trying to build some filler. So we got the tag team titles next week. Obviously, it's looking like Roman Reigns is going to be defending the Intercontinental title kind of off and on. I don't know if it's going to be like an every week thing, like seen in the U.S. title. I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't know. Obviously, we find out what happens with Roman a little bit later on, and we'll talk about that. So then afterwards, Kurt Angle's backstage. He's with Rich Swann, Cedric Alexander, Akira Tozawa, and Mustafa Ali. They have their concerns about the Zoe train, Enzo Amore, and how they want to shut up the title, but the Zoe train's in the way. So Kurt says, okay, we'll have 2 Fatal 4-Way matches, one tonight, one next week. The winner of those 2 matches will face each other in a couple weeks to determine the number 1 contender for Enzo. And we'll get to that match in a little bit. But that's kind of cool. I like the setup there. It gives you 3 weeks of what's going on for 3 weeks in the Cruiserweight division. And it's something to look forward to. I actually would prefer just a tournament. Why not have because we have, like I said, 2 whole months. Unless he's going to get the Cruiserweight Championship match on 205 Live, which is a possibility. That's kind of like a selling point 1 week. But why not do like an 8-man tournament? You could have there's 8 guys. I mean, you have 2 months to fill. You can have a couple matches here, then you can do the the semifinals. I would even do 16 guys, honestly. Do 16 guys, do a qualifying round, do a quarterfinal, almost like the King of the Ring style tournament. I think it's almost, I mean, they did that with the CWC. But you could do that here, too. Like, you can set up a tournament pretty easily, and I think that'd be kind of fun. And it gives you something to look forward to. And it put a spotlight on the Cruiserweight division, I think. But, that's just my opinion. But I think the Fatal 4-Way match stuff is cool. I thought their match tonight was pretty good. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Then they announced that the Singh brothers will face AJ Styles tomorrow in a handicap match, as well as Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, which will more likely be the main event of the night. So that's something to look forward to tomorrow. Then we had Titus O'Neil versus Samoa Joe, and this was a very brawly match. I actually kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie to you. Titus O'Neil got a lot of offense early, was really laying in some strikes, hitting some hard ones there on Samoa Joe. A little stiff ski, little Titus ski, stiff ski O'Neil there. But then in the match, he slaps Samoa Joe a couple times. Samoa Joe gets pissed off. He ends up getting Samoa Joe into the corner. The referee goes and pulls Titus O'Neil away. And then Samoa Joe gets a cheap shot, locks in the Coquina clutch, and the match is over. The only thing I didn't like about this is what happens next. So Apollo Crews comes in to try and stop Samoa Joe from attacking Titus. And he just gets scrubbed out. This really made Apollo look like a major scrub here, more so than usual. I mean, he already looks like a scrub as it is. And it's a shame because Apollo is a very talented guy. No, he isn't very charismatic. No, he can't really cut a promo. But the guy can go in the ring. And I think, in my opinion, that's the most important thing in the not WWE, but in wrestling, period. Although that's not the focal point in WWE, obviously. But I just wish there was something. I mean, Apollo just needs something. He's just missing something. I don't know what that something is. And I would love for him to just go out there one day and just shock the world. Like a Neville heel turn. Like when Neville turned heel, I did not expect him to be as good as he was. And I miss him. I hope he comes back soon. Because I love Neville. And I think Neville was easily the greatest, the cruiserweight guy in the entire division. And then they were going look like they're going to do a babyface turn with him, which I don't know if I'm sold on that. As long as you keep them the same and have them cut the same promos, Otherwise, I don't think it would work. Just another babyface Neville because we've already been through that and it was very bland. I don't know. I like Neville as a heel, and I'm hoping Apollo can pull something off like that at some point. But right now, they obviously have nothing for the guy, and they're constantly bringing up new people. He's constantly getting passed over time and time again. I don't know if eventually they'll bring him back to SmackDown, even though he was already on SmackDown, and maybe change something there. But for now, Apollo is just not doing anything. Throw him in a tag team. Throw Apollo. I know Apollo and Titus. They're not really a tag team, but they could be a tag team. There's nothing wrong with them. It would be the Primetime Players 2.0, but it would be improved, in my opinion. And I actually liked Darren Young as a wrestler. I thought he was fine, but I think Apollo's even better. Why not make them a tag team? They're already paired together. Titus still wrestles. Why not have another tag team on the roster? I don't know. I just wish Apollo had something else going on. Then we had Alexa Bliss come out for commentary. We were supposed to have a 6-women's tag match. It was supposed to be Sasha Banks, Mickie James, and Bayley versus Paige, Mandy, and Sonya, now known as Absolution. That is their new faction name. But Sasha comes out. She's in the middle of the ring. It cuts to both their music, Mickie James and Bayley's music. They don't come out. Obviously, at this point, you know that they were attacked. Paige comes out with the Absolution, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. They show a clip of Mickie James holding her ankle. They show Bayley holding her neck. Obviously, they can't come out, so they surround the ring. And they basically say, Sasha, we want you to pledge your allegiance to us. Either you're with us or you're against us. And, well, she's against them. She attacks Paige off the apron. She gets jumped by Deville and Rose. They all jump in. They start beating the shit out of her. They hit their finishes on Sasha, and that was the end of that. They did kind of promo beforehand talking about how, why they did what they did. They've been, hammered on social media, at the airport, wherever. And she says, before the Four Horsemen, before the goddesses, before the empresses, etc., there was Paige. And I'm the one who's the matriarch of the Women's Revolution. I'm the one that started the Women's Revolution. Basically taking Emma's gimmick away from her since she's gone. But she's right, though. Before then, she was kind of the ring bearer of the Divas division. She says that she is the one that took the Divas out of the equation, that it's a women's division, not a Divas division. She was the start of that, and she's not wrong. Her and Emma were a big part of that in NXT, and it kind of snowballed from there. I think Paige probably more so than Emma in the long run, but at the end of the day, though, she was the anti-diva of WWE. She ended up being the biggest diva of them all in the long run, which I thought was kind of ironic. But anyways, they cut a promo on her. They all talk. Sonya starts talking. They get what chance. Mandy talks. And she was okay. Then Paige ends in. Like I said, they hit their finishes on Sasha. They hit Deville hit a nasty bicycle kick. Mandy hit the 2-wing. Was it called the 1-wing name? No. I'm trying to think of what Fallen Angel. I think Christopher Daniels' move was called the Fallen Angel. It was essentially that's a double underhook face plant. I don't know. I don't really know how the best way to explain it, but that's what it is. It's essentially what it is. And then of course Paige at the Rampage, which is her finish, and that was it. And I can get behind them. I like them. I like Absolution. I think that Sonya and Mandy are still very green. I think this is too soon for them. But I'll give credit where credit's due. Neither one of them got rattled when the crowd was chanting what or anything. They were still fine. They kept continuing their promos. Which is very impressive because it's not an easy thing to do. I think we as fans kind of take that for granted because they make it look easy, the professionals. But it's rough. I mean, they're in front of thousands of people. It can be kind of intimidating. The fact that this is their second week on the main roster. They've never really been in front of crowds quite like this. I know they've been on house show circuits for NXT. I don't think either one of them has actually wrestled at a TakeOver. Maybe the taped portion of a TakeOver show where it's still in front of a big crowd. I don't actually know, but this is like their first main roster stuff where they're cutting promos, and they didn't get rattled, so that's impressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing what more of these guys bring to the table. Obviously, we saw a little bit more of them tonight with Asuka. We'll get to that. We'll get to her match. Bray Wyatt cuts a promo. I fell asleep until he started chanting, "You're all dead," laughing. "You're all dead." Ha 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 ha. Man, Bray Wyatt, my friend. I cannot watch a Bray Wyatt promo anymore. I'm sorry, I just can't. It's just too much for me. And Matt Hardy comes out. Matt Hardy and him have a match. It's an okay match. Bray wins with the Sister Abigail, very standard Bray Wyatt match. It went exactly how you thought it would go. Hardy kind of crawls to the turnbuckle and lays in the corner. Crowd starts chanting for Hardy. He starts doing the delete thing over and over again. So, are we about to see the inception of the Broken Hardy gimmick finally in WWE? Michael Cole even said, are we beginning the Matt Hardy breakdown? Are we beginning to see a Matt Hardy breakdown, I should say? So is the Broken Hardy thing coming to WWE? Is it too late? Honestly, I'm not really excited for it. I think it's too late. I know it's only been, 7 months since they've been back to the main roster, something like that. 6 to 7 months. And we were anticipating the Broken Hardys from the beginning. We didn't get it. We got the Hardy Boys, the vintage Hardy Boy, which is fine because I love the Hardy Boys. They were my favorite tag team for the longest time. Probably my favorite tag team of all time, if I'm going to be real with you. And Jeff Hardy was my favorite wrestler for a very long time, probably close to a decade. I was a big Jeff Hardy. In fact, my PSN name is Jeff Hardy. It's got numbers in place of letters, but it's Jeff Hardy. That's how big of a fan I was of Jeff Hardy. And so, I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with it, but I'm not like super excited for it yet. You know, are they going to do the Broken Hardy stuff like with the the Hardy compound, and they're going to do the crazy skits and stuff, or are we just going to get kind of like a watered down version of it? Are we going to see something like the House of Horrors between Matt Hardy and Bray? Because if so, I'm not really into that because I thought it sucked. They could have done a lot more goofiness. There was some goofiness involved, but not to me. It didn't look like it was intentional. I want to see some intentional goofiness. I want to see it go full force. Matt Hardy versus Bray would be the feud for that. That was the dream feud for a while when people wanted to see broken Matt Hardy in WWE. People wanted to see Bray versus Matt or the Wyatt family and the Hardys. So definitely the right two people to do it with. I'm curious to see what they do with it. Then we see Kurt Angle with Jason Jordan backstage. Jason, they show him being attacked. They show Kane being attacked by Braun. And Jason says it's a shame. He was looking forward to facing Braun. And Kurt Angle was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, people have been roasting me all over social media. People think that I faked my injury. I walked away. But I didn't. And I wanted to have a rematch with him. And, Kurt was all excited for that. And he's like, what do I got to do? You know what? Why don't I take out Kane? If I take out Kane, people will definitely show up. And Kurt Angle got so, real. He's like, my son's going to beat the big red machine Kane. It's real. It's damn real. And he was so proud. And I thought this was great. I thought the setup and their match was great, too. And we'll talk about it when we get to it. Then we had the Fatal 4-Way match, the first of 2 Fatal 4-Way matches to determine the number 1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship. This week, it was Noam Dar versus Akira Tozawa versus Rich Swann versus Arya Daivari. And I thought this was a good match. The crowd wasn't really into it for the most part. They popped, and when I say pop, too, and that might be too generous. They kind of got a little bit of excitement, a little bit of applause at certain points of the match. One thing, Swann did a nasty flip over the top rope and landed knee first right into Akira's face. Hopefully he's okay. Another cool spot in the match, Swann went for a Rolling Thunder, and on the second roll, Arya Daivari caught him midway through it and hit him with a spine buster. It's pretty good stuff. But the match ends up with Swann cracking Noam Dar with the kick from the apron. He climbs into the turnbuckle, does a Phoenix Splash for the 3. It was a really good match. I actually really enjoyed it. I like the cruiserweights, and like I said, I just want to see a little bit more spotlight on them. I know they tried, and I don't know if they can do anything at this point to really save the division. People already have this perception of it, and they think that it's very, very much secondary. Maybe, I don't know. I just don't know if there's anything they can do to save it. They tried bringing in Austin Aries for it. Even if they put Finn Balor down to the Cruiserweight division, which some people believe he should be in the Cruiserweight division, I disagree. I think the Cruiserweight division, unfortunately, I think it's done. I don't think there's much you can do to it. So I don't know what they can do instead. I don't know if they scrap the entire thing. I don't know what they should do, but it's just not working out. But I really did enjoy the match. So we're going to have Rich Swann versus whomever next week. Maybe it's going to be Cedric Alexander. That's my guess. And then Cedric wins and becomes the number 1 contender. Or they'll have Drew Gulak, since they've been kind of doing a thing with him and Enzo. And Enzo's been he's been messing up Enzo's catchphrases, kind of as comedic stuff. So at some point I see a face turn from him anyways. So that might be something they might plan on doing and have him be the next contender for the Cruiserweight Championship. Then we have the Intercontinental title match, Elias versus Roman Reigns. Before this was started, Elias did a concert in honor of the Miz. Then after he plays a song, the crowd boos. He brings out the Miztourage, says, "You guys join me." And they bring out harmonicas, and it was pretty obvious to me that it was obviously them not actually playing the harmonicas, but it was still pretty funny. He tells them to take a bow. The crowd starts chanting, "We want Roman." There was a couple people trying to start a "No, we don't" chants. It was very few though, but you can hear it. It was definitely audible. Roman comes out to a pretty good pop. They have a match, and it was a good match. I really enjoyed the match. I really like Elias. I'm really behind Elias, and I've talked about this for months now. Ever since his debut on the main roster, the guy's been killing it. This is no exception to that. And he hits a sick elbow in this match, and the guy's a really good elbow drop, very reminiscent of the Macho Man. And it's crazy because now we have like three, in my opinion, three great elbow drops right now in the business. Elias, Kairi Sane, and Velveteen Dream all hit wonderful looking elbow drops off the top. It's funny, you haven't seen Bayley use that move in a while. Remember the rumor? There was a rumor when Bayley hit an elbow drop that when Kairi Sane was coming through the Mae Young Classic, she wouldn't be able to hit her elbow drop because that move belonged to Bayley. Do you remember that report? I called BS on that right away, but so many people were so upset about it and outraged. Oh, how could they do that to her? She's dead already. She can't even do her elbow drop, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I never believed that for a second. That's the thing, too, is you hear all these, like, news reports, and they're constantly, being proved wrong. It's like, why do you believe them all? Why? So many people believe everything they hear and read on the internet. It's ridiculous to me. We can all make speculations, but don't take things as fact until it happens because it's just silly. It's just so silly. Anyways, Roman, Elias hits this nasty looking electric chair, sit out powerbomb. Looked really great. I like that a lot. Roman wins with the spear. It was a pretty good match, like I said. Roman walks up the ramp, he's celebrating his win. And then he gets attacked by Samoa Joe, who seems to be his next challenger. Samoa Joe puts him in the coquina clutch and makes him pass out. So I don't know if they're going to start just feeding guys to Roman every week, just like I said with the Cena Open Challenge thing, to get him ready for Brock at Mania, or if Joe's actually going to be the next contender and they'll go to Mania. They'll go to the Rumble. Is Joe going to take the title off of him? Is Roman going to hold the title until Mania? A lot of unanswered questions there that I would like to see. I would love to see Samoa Joe win the Intercontinental title. Samoa Joe is a guy who hasn't won a title on the main roster yet. I think it's a shame. The guy's great. So I would love to see him hold the Intercontinental title for now. I would love that. That's a good spot for him right now. Have him be on the back burner for a little bit. Then once Mania season's over, Brock goes away and does his thing. We're going to need some top heels. And we have Braun Strowman, who's kind of a baby face right now. Kane's going to be retiring soon, I would imagine. So there's going to be a big hole there. Now, granted, they could bring some more people up, but I think Samoa Joe is definitely the guy that could definitely be the top heel on Monday Night Raw. Then we had Asuka versus Dana Brooke, sixth match of the night. Dana did a backstage interview thing. Put it on the corner. She said that, I watched our match from last week and I see a hole in your plan. You're a slow starter, so I'm going to attack you immediately. So you shouldn't even blink. Is basically that's what she said. So you better not even blink. Well, of course, after she says that, she comes to the ring. The bell rings and immediately Asuka runs at her, locks in an armbar, and immediately wins the match. Probably in like 5 seconds. It was pretty freaking funny. Asuka's so good. Absolution comes out. They surround the ring. They stare Asuka down. Asuka's just waiting for him to come into the ring. Crowd starts chanting, "Asuka's going to kill you." And then Paige kind of waves at her and just kind of smiles at her. I don't know what that means. But what I took this as, it's going to be Paige versus Asuka. Although I was looking at Paige maybe taking the women's championship off of Alexa Bliss. But what they might do is have Paige break Asuka's streak. Because here's the problem with Asuka's streak now. So she's had this streak for a long time. It was like 500 days, almost 2 years. Once her streak is broken, what is next for Asuka? It's pretty much nothing, right? That was the problem they had with Goldberg in WCW. It's the problem they have with anybody that has a long, undefeated streak. Once that streak is over, there's really not much more for them. So what you can do in this situation, which is what I think they're actually going to do, is they kind of get rid of the streak without it being a big deal, which may seem like a waste to some, but again, first off, who would you have break the streak, right? Everyone that's already on the main roster in the women's division is already established anyways, for the most part. I mean, Bayley's already won the women's championship. Sasha's won the championship. So Alexa Bliss is the champion. I mean, you could have Dana Brooke beat her. She would probably be the only one that would get a rub out of it. And I don't think anyone wants to see that. I guess you could have Nia Jax break it, but I don't know. I just don't feel like there's anyone that could break it. It would be like, oh, wow, this is their big moment now. You know, this is the equivalent of them winning the championship. Because that you would think that's what it should be. But there's no one on the roster that unless they bring up someone new, like Kairi Sane, maybe when Ember Moon gets moved up to the main roster. Trying to think of, I mean, Peyton Royce, I wouldn't have her do it. You know, she's already booked kind of like a cowardly heel anyway, so I wouldn't have her do it. So I don't know who would do it. So I think maybe have Paige do it by cheating with the Absolution. We get that out of the equation, so now not every match is like an automatic, oh, Asuka wins this match type of situation. You can have, then Asuka almost seem vulnerable. You know, now what's the next thing for the Conqueror? Streak's over. What's next for Asuka? Obviously the Women's Championship. And you ever chase the title for a while, probably from the Paige as the champion. That's what I would do. People will probably disagree with me, and that's fine. You feel free to disagree with me, and if you do, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you think should break her streak if it's not Paige, if it's not a cheating Paige. You know, it'd be good heel heat on Paige. People would probably be pretty upset about it. Maybe not because Paige is the one that actually, not because she cheated to win, but because Asuka got her streak broken in that manner when it should be a bigger deal. And I understand that mentality. Like I said, though, I don't know how you would do it, though, because no matter who you have break it, you know, it's going to seem almost underwhelming. You know, like I said, you're not going to have Dana Brooke break it. Sasha's already established, former 3-time champion, I think, maybe even 4-time champion now. Alexa Bliss is a 2-time champion already, I think, in Raw. I know she won the SmackDown. I don't remember how many numbers she won. Bayley's a former champion. Nia Jax never won the championship, so Nia Jax could possibly be another one you could choose. Mickie James, former 5-time women's champion. So there's really besides Nia Jax or Dana right now on the main roster, there really is no one else that could really get that gigantic rub from it. If Sonya Deville did it, I think people would be outraged. If Mandy Rose did it, people would be extremely pissed, especially if she did it cleanly. So I think you have Paige cheat to win, get the heel heat off of it. That's the only thing I can think of. And then we had Jason Jordan versus Kane, 7th match of the nights. They showed Bray attacking Jason's leg a couple weeks ago. The only thing I thought was, why hasn't Bray been punished for that? You know, he didn't get any talking to from Kurt or anything. It was kind of strange that they just kind of left that out in the open like that. They cost Jason from being in the match. You'd think that Kurt would be upset about that, but I guess not. Kane throwed him out in the ring early in the match. He starts grabbing his knee in pain, gets up and collapses. He ends up losing by countouts. Gets back into the ring. Kane beats him up. So at this point, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I think Jason's character is kind of leaning towards a self-entitled, almost like a millennial type character, which I think is great. I think people already turned on him as it is. I think you keep going in that direction. He comes off as whiny. He's entitled. Oh, I'm Kurt's son, so I should get this. Oh yeah, I could beat this guy, and then he tries to chicken shit his way out of the matches. Obviously, that wasn't the initial plan because he didn't do that against Cena or Roman. But I think it's great, though. I think it's great that he's afraid to go in there with Braun Strowman, afraid to go in there with Kane, so he continues to fake this knee injury. And eventually, I think you should keep playing into that. I think it's great. I think at some point you should have an MRI done on it from a doctor or something, and the doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with it, Kurt. I don't know what to tell you. And then Jason just looks at him and almost tears in his eyes. Who are you going to believe, Dad? Are you going to believe him or are you going to believe me? Just ridiculous shit like that. I think it's great. People hate it. People hate him. That makes for good TV, in my opinion. It's building up this heel character of Jason Jordan. He's just a whiny heel. Obviously, a character like that has a ceiling, so you have to be careful with that. I don't think a guy like that could be a main eventer. So if that's your goal, you have to be careful with that. But at some point, you can flip a switch with Jason anyways, and he goes from being this cowardly heel to a dastardly heel. Maybe someone with the authority backing him. Maybe somebody with some cronies. Jason Jordan having the Miztourage wouldn't be bad. Jason Jordan having some sort of a faction would probably help him out a lot. People probably wouldn't like it, but that's a good thing because he'd be a heel. Because right now, I was wondering too when this match started. It almost looked like the way things was played out. that Jason maybe hired Kane to attack Braun Strowman to kind of save him from that match because it's what it kind of looked like, in my opinion. Because as soon as that leg injury happened, Kane came straight out. So I was hoping they may play into that, and they still could. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting. So Kane's beating up Jason Jordan. Finn Balor comes out. Crowd kind of pops for it. He runs in there. So they set up an 8th match. Kane versus Finn Balor. Match wasn't very long. It ends with Kane getting disqualified by hitting him with the chair. He starts beating Finn Balor down with a chair. Wraps a chair around his neck. Climbs up on top of the turnbuckle. Braun Strowman comes out. And I thought this was a little weird because Cole, like his music hits, Cole's like, "Is he here?" He sounded so unenthusiastic, but then he started he went from like a 2 to 11 because he's like, "The Master Among Men." So I guess someone was probably yelling in his ear like dumbass, like act fucking interested in this. But anyways, Kane hits Braun Strowman with the chair. He completely no-sells it. Kane looked confused and backs off. Goes up to the corner, waving him off. Goes at him again. Braun kicks him, and they start brawling. It ends with Braun throwing the steel chair, a solid steel set of stairs into the ring. Grabs Kane, power slams him on, and starts beating him with the chair. Guillotines his neck like he did to Braun last week with the chair. Does that twice. Kane starts choking, coughing, and then he kind of crawls through over the barricade and goes into the crowd. And I thought I was kind of funny. If you watch it back, I don't know if I'm the one that noticed this, but he tries to grab a chair to pull himself back up off the ground. And it's a wheelchair, and some lady's in the wheelchair, and he grabs her chair, and she just goes nuts. She loves it. She's so excited that Kane grabbed her chair, and as he's leaving, you can see her taking a picture with Kane behind her. I thought that was pretty cool. So, like I said, overall, I thought Raw was a pretty good show. I'm interested to see what they do, because, like I said, they have 2 months away from the Royal Rumble, maybe closer to 7 weeks, but still, it's quite a bit of time from now. We're just going to continue seeing Roman defend the IC title. We're going to see a lot of filler matches, tag team title matches. Maybe we'll get a women's title match before Royal Rumble as well. Maybe a cruiserweight title match. That's one nice thing about having a lot of championships. Yeah, we're not going to see the Universal Champion, but we got to see all these other championships defend the titles. All these other champions defend the titles, I should say. Like I said, we got the tag team title match next week. We're going to have The Bar versus Seth and Dean. Are they going to win the titles then? Are they going to cheat to win? The Bar, that is. Are they going to cheat to win? Continuing their feud? I guess we'll see. Obviously, they're setting up something with the Shield having all 3 titles. Maybe at some point we'll see. Maybe even at the Rumble, maybe as a selling point for the Rumble, we'll see winner takes all. Maybe we'll see Miz probably won't be back by then, but maybe we'll see Elias and the Miztourage. No. Elias, Cesaro, and Sheamus versus the Shield. If the Shield wins, they get the tag team titles because I would assume the Bar will still have them. If Elias and the Bar wins, Elias gets the Intercontinental title. Maybe we'll see something like that. Mr. Rush gets involved and the Shield wins. They win all the titles. And then you continue that going forward. And we got the Elimination Chamber coming up. So that begs the question, who's next for Brock? Because I would assume he's going to wrestle at the Rumble. Granted, it's a split brand pay-per-view, so you would have the WWE title defended, so you don't necessarily need the Universal title defended there. But the Royal Rumble, in my opinion, is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. People may consider it the third, behind SummerSlam, but I would say it's the second biggest. So having him there would probably be a big deal. So my guess would probably be Finn Balor. You can do the Beast versus the Demon. Otherwise, I don't know who you would do unless you would bring John Cena in for a title match, just as a filler match between Brock and Roman. If it's going to be Brock versus Joe again, Brock versus... He doesn't really have another opponent on Raw is the problem. Unless they have him versus Kane, or him versus Braun again. Then we have Elimination Chamber. We get to see who's going to be in the Elimination Chamber match. Obviously, I would assume the Royal Rumble winner would probably be a SmackDown guy. Because what you can do is, at the Elimination Chamber, you could have Roman in that match and have him almost win, maybe even have him win, and then him versus Brock at the rematch at WrestleMania, which may take a little bit of steam out of the match. I think you would have Brock win that match. Or have it to where Roman almost wins the match, someone fucks it up for him, and then Brock ends up winning because of it. So then you can say, oh, well, Roman should be champion, and then you can do the title match at Mania. There's a lot they could do with that. If I were to guess, you would probably have, if the Shield is going to be in that match, or if Roman's going to be in that match, you could have the entire Shield in there, which could set up the turn on somebody, maybe Dean hits Dirty Deeds on Seth and pins him in the match and eliminates him, and fucks up the Shield thing. So then you can set up Seth versus Dean at Mania. You can have those three, Brock, maybe Samoa Joe, and maybe, I mean, you could do Elias. You could do Finn Balor. Could do Finn Balor. I would do Finn Balor. I'd say Finn Balor would be in that match. So there's a lot you could do at the Elimination Chamber. So we got a lot to look forward to, guys. Tomorrow, like I said, we have Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. We have AJ Styles versus the Singh Brothers. And we'll be back for that review. So anyways, guys, until next time, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels. Bidding you a farewell. Peace and one love. Bang!